The housing market is an industry no one thought would ever fail. Everyone needs a home, right? It's one of the very few commodities that every person would eventually buy, and the supply is only decreasing. Who would ever bet against it? Meet Michael Burry, the guy who saw something no one could ever predict and made millions in the process, while millions lost everything. Welcome to Venture, where we look at the exciting and crazy ways people made their fortunes. Michael Burry was born on the 19th of June 1971 in San Jose, California. He grew up in a lower middle class family and had an interest in finance and economics from an early age. He graduated from the University of California, Riverside with a degree in economics and then went on to attend medical school at Vanderbilt University. After completing his medical residency, Michael decided to pursue a career in finance and worked as a stock analyst. In 2000, he founded a hedge fund called Scion Capital, where he put his investment ideas into practice. His firm was so successful that in 2004 he had to stop taking on new investors as Scion had grown the fund to around $400 million. This was also around the time when he started to notice some inconsistencies. Known for his contrarian views and unconventional investment strategies, Michael spent countless hours researching companies and industries to find undervalued assets. This is how he stumbled across the vastly unknown fact that the housing market is going to crash. He just was not exactly sure when. In the years leading up to the crisis, Burry identified that the US housing market was overvalued. Many people were taking out risky mortgages to buy homes, and the banks offered little to no resistance when dishing out these home loans. This felt eerily similar to his teenage years, when San Jose's housing bubble collapsed in 1989 due to risky subprime mortgage lending and an exaggeration of the housing supply at the time. He made a bold bet against the housing market by purchasing credit default swaps on securities backed by subprime mortgages. Security-backed mortgages, explained simply, are mortgages that commercial banks offer potential homeowners that are bought by institutional banks and converted into shares that the public can buy as an investment. Credit default swaps are insurance contracts that are taken out on mortgage-backed securities. He believed that the value of these homes would decrease and that he could make a profit by betting against the housing market, a practice known as shorting. Michael's bet against the housing market was met with skepticism by many in the financial industry.
In 6 years, it'll all be gone. On one bet.
No, the second quarter of 07 is when the adjustable rates kick in and the defaults will skyrocket.
Yeah, says you.
Who believed that the housing market was a safe and stable investment. So much so that the financial institutions scoffed at Michael when he tried to take out the CDSs on their mortgage-backed securities, as you'd have to pay millions in premiums a month. Risky assets command higher premiums, so they let him take out the insurance contracts with no resistance whatsoever. But Michael knew that commercial banks were basically handing out loans to anyone who wanted one, and if banks need people to pay their monthly mortgages, why were they handing them out like candy to a child with their parents' credit card? Because they were making money on the securities backed by their subprime mortgages too. They had money coming in from everywhere and their greed got to them. Mortgages are rated AAA to B. AAA meaning those who are wealthy enough to always pay back their loans, and B for those who would often default on their loans and are unable to pay them back. What banks were doing was mixing these loans with their varying ratings together in a pool and selling that to financial institutions. This process is called tranches. Banks became reckless and started mixing low-rated subprime mortgages and selling them highly rated, and continued this process until eventually B-rated mortgages were packed up and sold as if they were AAA rated. Michael, who has a deep understanding of the underlying data and trends in various markets, discovered the fraudulent activity early. He identified several key indicators of a housing bubble, including rising home prices, increasing rates of home ownership, and a growing number of risky subprime loans. In 2005 and 2006, as the housing market continued to inflate, Michael continued to purchase CDSs on subprime mortgage-backed securities. His investors and partners were livid. He was using their money to pay off the premiums, and at this point it was around $80 to $90 million a year. If his bet proved to be wrong, and the housing market was to never crash, he and all his investors at Scion Capital would lose everything. By 2007, the housing market began to show signs of stress, and many homeowners started to default on their loans. This created a domino effect throughout the financial system, as banks and other financial institutions began to suffer massive losses from the subprime mortgage market. As the crisis unfolded, Michael's bet against the housing market paid off in a big way. The value of the CDSs he had purchased increased dramatically. allowing him to make massive profits. By the time the financial crisis peaked in 2008, Michael had made hundreds of millions of dollars from his bet against the housing market. 800 million to be exact, 700 million for his investors, and $100 million for himself. If the price of houses continued to go up, the crash never happened, which is the case normally as real estate generally always goes up. High demand, low supply, but the negligent lending coupled with the fraudulent activities meant that the crash was inevitable. The banks effectively ruined the housing market and are the reason for one of the greatest economic failures in history, causing millions to default on their mortgage because the debt they owed was worth way more than the value of their houses. So what is the punishment? The consequence of something like this usually means bankruptcy for many of these banks and financial institutions, leading to insolvency. If that were to happen, Michael Burry and whoever else who tried to short the housing market would then lose their entire bet, as the insurance claim cannot be paid out. However, Michael knew that the government would not allow this to happen. If banks were to fail, so would the entire economy, and the trickle-down effect would be catastrophic. And that's exactly what happened. All these banks and financial institutions were bailed out of their mistakes. They still suffered huge losses, but the businesses survived. At least they were criminally charged for their negligent and fraudulent activity, resulting in millions losing their homes and a worldwide recession, right? Again, no. No one went to jail. No one was charged. These banks and financial institutions received scolding at most. Some CEOs and senior members of management lost their jobs definitely, yes, but that was about it. As the dust settled at Zion, the stress of his investors threatening to pull their funds and the enormous wealth he created for everyone caused Michael to shut down the company altogether. He now controls and manages his own wealth, and still tries his luck shorting stocks in various other industries. Michael is not like the typical greedy capitalist involved in the financial world, as he made his prediction of the housing market public. His intention was to wake people up, so he wrote an article about it, warning everyone. Most people scoffed and ignored his forecast.
So Mike Burry of San Jose, a guy who gets his hair cut at Supercuts and doesn't wear shoes, knows more than Alan Greenspan and Hank Paulson.
The doctor. Yes, he does. That's cute. That's cute.
But a few bright-minded individuals took that information and went, what if? And in the end, they made millions too.